Hello, everyone. My name is Liz Fraccaro, and I am the project director of the Antiquities Coalition's Financial Crimes Task Force. I'm joined here today by Michael Greenwald, who is the fellow of the Financial Crimes Task Force, and we'll be discussing non-fungible tokens. A non-fungible token is a unit of data on a blockchain representing non-fungible ownership rights regarding an item or respective claim. It can be applied to anything, and now we are seeing the rise of it being applied to artworks.
Thank you, Liz. It's great to be here with the coalition, and I'm excited to have this conversation here today.
How has the reaction been to the accessibility that's now growing out of this? You know, this is making the art market accessible to pretty much anyone with a computer.
I think it's a real positive development because the art market is opaque. And I think that there's been a sense that it's a closed off market and that it's only for an elite group of people. And I think being able to buy an NFT for $10 and be considered a collector, I think people's worth will really go up in that expression. So I think that transparency is a really important development, and I think it's good for the overall market. I don't think it's going to change the normal contemporary art buyers, right? Someone who wants to buy an Ed Ruscha or a George Condo or a Joan Mitchell, they're going to continue. We saw Basquiat sell with Christie's for 40 plus million this past week. I think what we are seeing, Liz, is an expansion of the audience, right? This is a gamer's mindset. And so the audience is expanding, and that means a growth in the audience for the art market. So as long as there are appropriate guardrails in place to make sure that you're preventing illicit activity, then I think it's a great development. But again, we're in the early days.
Do you feel that it's also affecting the growing perception of art as an investment property rather than collecting art for the pure enjoyment of it?
Well, I think the art market's been on a boom for many years, and you've seen that from the sales coming out of Asia and elsewhere. There was a large sale in Dubai this past week as well. So I think people already view it as an investment, and some view it, trying to compare it to real estate and what that means. I think ultimately people are going to continue to invest in this market, and they're going to be trading quite a bit. So contemporary art, collectors trade quite a bit, and I think you're going to see the NFT market really expand as an investment tool. But also, digital currencies are on the rise. So I think as a digital dollar begins to develop, and other tokens and other companies in the United States like Square and Stripe get into this game, the arena for investment purposes is only going to grow.
And to change our topic slightly, outside of the financial implications of this, it seems like this is going to change the landscape for digital rights as well. Do you think this is appealing to artists?
I think it is appealing to artists because I think it lends them a different form of design. I think I've spoken to a few contemporary artists in the last week that are getting involved in this space. I think there was a sense they felt almost constricted by the canvas. And now they're reaching on beyond the canvas, and they know no boundaries. And this goes back to this era of decentralization that is operating, right? Bitcoin and other coins are operating outside of central banks. And so just like they want to operate in a decentralized way, there are some artists that want to operate outside of a canvas where they know no boundaries. And the only issue is when there is boundaries, because there needs to be rules in place to make sure that you don't have illicit activity. So I think there's a happy medium need to come this way.
Sure. And it seems to me that the ability to prove authenticity and ownership can only benefit artists as well. It's not just a wonderful benefit to collectors to know that they have a legitimate object that has been purchased legitimately, but artists can, control their intellectual property rights better.
I think that's a key component, and I think uh, that is a real great development for artists and up and coming artists. I would really be curious to have a panel with some of the previous contemporary artists and get their views about how they would feel if they had more of those intellectual property rights. So I think you're going to see quite a bit spoken from the artist perspectives going forward on this important topic.
Is there anything else you want to cover in our conversation?
So, Liz, I really believe this is two worlds colliding. It's the confluence between the art world and the digital realm. And it may seem confusing, and for good reason, right? So, artwork is an artifact in the most traditional sense. It exists in physical form, it's tangible, and it carries intrinsic value. The digital world appears the near opposite. However, digital currency and NFTs, they're not new to the art world, right? So various platforms that sell traditional artwork as well as NFTs through blockchain have been around since the early part of the last decade. Coin Temporary was one of the first to launch in 2014, conducting transactions strictly in Bitcoin, which dozens of similar platforms are emerging soon after. So the market has not only grown significantly enough to garner broad attention, but with the arrival of Christie's art auction house to the scene, it really marks a dramatic shift. So when one of the oldest and most reputed auction houses, not only opens its doors to NFTs and crypto, it does so with a blockbuster transaction. It's hard not to see it as a confirmation that digital assets and digital currencies are here to stay. So as I mentioned, Christie's, Sotheby's, and Phillips, they're acting like the central banks for the art world.
Well, thank you so much for talking today, Michael.
My pleasure. Take care, Liz.
You too.